Hello, this is Robin, and I am going to lead you in a Yin Yoga practice. Since we are encouraged to not be in person at this time, I wanted to go ahead and give you something at home that you can do at the same time that you would normally do your practice in the studio or anytime now that you may find yourself with a little bit more free time. So I have a mat, I have a blanket, it can be a beach towel. You can use a couple of beach towels, even some pillows from your couch. And we're just gonna start in easy seated position. Again, this is Yin Yoga. And in Yin Yoga, we will practice poses and we'll hold them for anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. So this is a yin practice. Do this maybe at night, before bed. It's encouraging you to be mindful, go slow, and bring some movement and awareness into your body. So we'll start here seated, hands up or down, closing the eyes. Just begin to breathe. Noticing how your breath is right now. Is it short and choppy, shallow? Let's try to deepen that breath. Now noticing if you're just breathing into the upper part of the chest. On the next inhale, bringing that breath down into the belly, placing a hand on the belly and one on the chest. Inhale, fill the belly with air. Then the ribs and then the chest. Exhale, slightly contracting the belly in, releasing the ribs, relaxing the shoulders. This is our 3-part breath in yoga. Inhale, filling the belly, expanding the ribs, lifting the chest. Exhale, contract the belly, release the ribs, release the chest. Practice this a few more times on your own. And as you practice this, you will notice you're telling your body it's okay to relax. This nice deep breath stimulates our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest. And with the world events right now, whatever's going on in your community as well, we can all use a little bit of relaxation. Now take your hands away from your belly and your chest. If your eyes were closed, just begin to open your eyes. And let's inhale together. Arms overhead. Exhale, right hand down to the floor. Left arm comes overhead for a nice, gentle side stretch. Remembering to come back to that 3-part breath anytime in your practice. On the next inhale, we'll bring those arms and fingertips back up to the sky. Exhale, left hand down to the mat. Right arm comes overhead. Breathing into the right side of the body. Inhale, coming back up to center. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll come forward onto all fours. I'm going to turn sideways for you. We're going to do cat-cow. So if you are not familiar with cat-cow, you've got your shoulders, elbows above the wrists, and the hips are above the knees. Planting the hands onto your mat in the shape of a starfish. Inhale, lifting the tailbone, lifting the chin, letting the belly drop. This is cow. Exhale, push the floor away, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone. Inhale, leading with the heart through to the front of the room, lifting the tailbone. Exhale, tucking the tailbone, tucking the chin. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. And we'll meet in neutral. Sitting back on the heels, taking those knees wide toward the corners of your mat. We're coming into a child's pose. Using your hands, you can inch those hands further toward the end of your mat, lengthening the arms, lengthening the spine, sinking the hips toward the heels. On the next inhale, pushing into the hands, lifting the forehead gently off of the mat, taking those hands over to the right side of the mat, and then gently placing the forehead back down on the mat. Inhaling into the left side of the body. On the next inhale, walking those hands back to center, lifting the forehead off of the mat, and then continuing to walk the hands over to the left side of the mat, gently placing your forehead down, taking 3 deep breaths here on this side. On the next inhale, walking those hands back to center and gently pushing the hips up and into tabletop. We will now sit back on our heels. So this is an ankle stretch. This might be enough for you on the front of your ankles. If it's too much, you can lean forward. If it's not enough, you can begin to lift the knees off of the mat. And you should feel a nice stretch along the front of your ankles. There's no pain in yoga. We don't want any sensation over a 3 on a 0 to 10 scale of pain. So I just set my timer. You can even place a blanket underneath the knees, sitting up nice and tall. Again, if any of this is too intense, feel free to take it down in intensity. You can remove the blanket. You can come back up to seated, or you can lean forward. And remembering when the poses get a little challenging, to practice your 3-part breathing. One more breath. Gently lowering the knees, coming forward into our tabletop. Just paddle out those feet. Maybe even curl the toes under. Take a down dog. And then coming back onto our knees, leaving those those toes curled under, sitting up onto your heels. We are now doing a toe stretch. We'll only hold this one for a minute. Again, this is one of those that can be very intense. So if this is too intense for you, lean forward. It's okay. This is not something that we do all the time. And usually our feet are in shoes and they don't get to stretch. Our toes don't get to stretch. Taking a moment to reach back and see if that pinky toe is also involved. We don't want to leave it out. I just spent a few days last week in ski boots, so those are very restrictive. So I am definitely feeling this right now. Begin breathing. Whenever the mind begins to wander, coming back to the breath and gently coming forward onto the hands into tabletop. Let's paddle out those feet. That feels good. Now curl those toes under. Come into downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And on your next inhale, lifting that right foot. We're not going to lift it high to the sky. We're just lifting it to create space. Exhale, bring that knee forward and place your knee to your right wrist. The left leg comes toward the back of your mat. Coming into pigeon pose. In pigeon pose, your foot can be closer to your hip or further toward the top of your mat. So that will determine the intensity of this pose. So your foot can be resting against your left hip. You can always curl those back toes under, lift the leg, and just come off of that knee, the left knee. This is one that we will hold for 3 minutes. This is a great hip opener. We're going to start here with our upper body elevated. Adjust your intensity according to where you are today. So if you just spent time traveling over spring break, then you might have some tight hips because you were sitting in a car for however many hours. Or maybe with this scenario we're in right now with COVID-19, maybe you've been at home and you've been enjoying Netflix quite a bit. So just go to where you can with this pose. Now, if this feels good and you're thinking, I don't really feel anything here, let's go ahead and take it down to the forearms. Okay. Again, there should be no pain in this right knee. Okay, we can have a sensation of opening the hip. No pain, numbness, or tingling. If this is great, stay here. If you want more sensation, you can take those arms out in front of you and rest the forehead on the mat. Breathing, relaxing the shoulders, releasing the jaw, softening the hips. About a minute left here. Noticing if you need to increase the intensity or decrease the intensity. Either one is fine. Inhaling the breath to where you feel the most tension. Exhale, release the tension. Soften the shoulders. Releasing the jaw, relaxing the hips. One more breath here. Nice. Coming up onto the hands, lifting the torso, curling the back toes under and lifting that left leg to create space for that right leg to come through. Let's come to plank pose, high plank. Feels good. Maybe push those hips up and back to downward facing dog. Walk the dog here. Nice. And then inhale. We're just going to lift that left foot up. We don't need to lift it very high. We're just creating space to bring that left knee to the left wrist. And then gently placing that right knee down onto the mat. We're doing pigeon on the other side. Because as you all know in yoga, what we do on one side, we do on the other. So again, starting here, adjusting the foot closer to your hip or further away for more intensity. Again, no pain in that knee. Taking a moment. You can curl those right toes under, lift that right leg, and pull it back so you're not right on top of your knee. Now, if this is good, again, like we did on the other side, you can come down to your forearms. If you have a blanket there, you can even use your blanket. If you have a block, which some of us may not have yoga blocks, that's okay. You can use a pillow, you can fold up your blanket, your beach towel. This side for me is definitely tighter, so I am stacking my fists for my forehead and resting my torso on the folded blanket. I do have the timer going. I didn't forget. Halfway through here. So we're halfway through. This is the time where you can adjust. Maybe the intensity is too much. Maybe you lost intensity. You lost intensity. Take it down. Forehead to the mat. Arms out in front. Just a few more breaths here. On the next inhale, beginning to walk your hands towards your body, lifting your upper body. Curling the right toes under, lifting that right leg to create space to bring that left leg back into a downward facing dog. Nice, breathe. Walk the dog. On the next inhale, coming forward to high plank, gently dropping those knees, sitting back on the heels, taking the heels out to the side. Just going to come forward to an easy seated position. From here, let's take that right foot and place it on top of the left knee. And then the left foot is under the right knee. So this is fire log pose. So as you can see, I have quite a bit of space here. That's okay. My hips are a little bit tight. So I'm going to take this blanket and just support that knee and that space. And I'm setting my timer for 3 minutes. So sitting up nice and tall, as if there's a string pulling through the crown of your head. Relaxing the shoulders. So while we hold this fire log pose, in Yin Yoga, I will tell you there are 3 things that we focus on. The first one is time. So we spend time in a posture, like I said, anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. Further on in the practice, some people can spend up to 5 minutes, 20 minutes in a pose. And then secondly, it's the intensity. The intensity is not as important as time unless you are going overboard. Your intensity needs to be minimal. So I like to say 3 on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, because as a nurse, that's the pain scale we always use. But if that doesn't work for you, then if it's a pose that you are really having a hard time staying in because it's painful, decrease the intensity. There should not be pain, there should be tension. We're putting some stress on our connective tissues so that they can get stronger and we can increase our mobility. So taking a breath here as we're almost done. Relaxing the jaw, also relax the hips. So inhale, exhale, releasing the jaw, relaxing the hips. Just a few more breaths here. If you have the blanket there, you can remove it and see if that knee comes closer to the foot. Always returning to the breath when the mind begins to wander. Sending the breath into the areas of the most tension, and on the exhale, releasing the tension. And one thing I haven't mentioned, but we come out of these poses in Yin Yoga very slowly, very slowly. So use both hands to bring those knees together and take those hands behind your hips. And let's just take the knees side to side. This is windshield wiper. It's a nice releasing pose before we go to the other side. And back to center. This time we'll take the left leg underneath and the right ankle on top. Nope, that's what we just did. So right ankle underneath, left ankle on top. There we go. This side, as you can see for me, is not as tight. So I don't have as much space in between this foot and this knee. So realizing that each side of your body is different. One pose might be easier on one side than the other, and that's okay. Sitting up nice and tall. Again, focusing on your breath. Releasing those shoulders. Relaxing the jaw releases the hips. Eyes can be open or closed. I find when my eyes are closed, it's easier for me to go inward and focus on what part of my body is feeling the most tension. And Bernie Clark asks us when we do Yin Yoga to notice the quality of the tension. Is it like a linear piece of string that you're having the tension? Is it a wide space, maybe a rectangle or a square that you're noticing the tension in? And just try and notice what happens when you inhale the breath into that area and then exhale, releasing. Does the quality change? For some, this pose might be very easy. If you are finding that this has no sensation for you, you can lean forward and walk the hands forward. That definitely increases the sensation. I will not be doing that version. Whew. We have less than a minute. Taking this time to increase or decrease the intensity. Maybe practicing your 3-part breath. Okay, one more breath here. Gently helping your top leg off of the bottom leg, using your hands to bring those knees together, uncross the legs. We'll take those hands behind our hips and then just take the knees side to side. That should feel really good. Nice. You can even straighten the legs and just flex the feet and then just take the feet side to side. Nice. And then bringing those knees back up. We will take our feet onto the mat and then gently lower down for bridge pose. So have your blanket or a pillow handy, or a yoga block if you have one. We're going to come into supported bridge pose. So I'm going to take my blanket. I'll do it over here so you can see. Take my blanket here, bending the knees, and the feet and knees are just hip distance apart. We don't want anything going out like this. You always want to make sure that your knees and your toes are pointing in the same direction. So pushing through the feet, lifting the hips into a bridge pose. Then take your blanket or block or pillow and place it underneath your lower back. And then gently lower the hips. This is a supported bridge pose. You can do unsupported. It's just a more active pose, which is not very yin-like. That's more yang, more active. And also in bridge pose, you do not want to move your head side to side. You do not want to look side to side, just to protect your neck. So I will look towards the ceiling, or you can close your eyes. If you'd like a little bit of a shoulder opener, you can roll those shoulders under. Again, practicing your 3-part breath here. This is actually a very restorative pose. There's really not much going on here as far as stretching. It's more of a releasing pose. It releases your lower back. If you find that this is not enough sensation for you, you can double whatever you have under your lower back. So if you have 2 pillows, you can put those under there, 2 blocks, or you can change the height of your block. I just rolled up my blanket a little bit more. This also serves as our inversion pose, where the heart is above the head. So if you're feeling any uncomfortable pressure in your head or your eyes, gently come out of this pose. So if you have high blood pressure, maybe even if you're having sinus issues right now, the pressure in your head might be a little uncomfortable. And so just come out of it. That's okay. Just a few more breaths here. On the next inhale, pushing through the feet, lifting the hips, taking the blanket out or pillow out from under your lower back, gently lowering those hips. Bring the knees into the chest one at a time. Give them a hug. Maybe rock side to side. And take those knees in a circle, clockwise and counterclockwise. Nice. Bring the knees back to center. Let's take the feet back down to the mat, and we're going to straighten the legs. From here, we're going to take our arms overhead and then begin to walk your heels over to the right side of your mat, and then walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. So your body is in the shape of a banana. If you'd like more sensation, you can grab your left wrist with your right hand. So grabbing and breathing into that left side of the body, feeling the lengthening through this left side of the body. You may feel it in your hip flexor, you might feel it in the obliques, you may feel it right here underneath the arm. So just noticing where you feel that sensation. This literally is called banana asana or banana pose. Again, noticing where your intensity is in this pose. If it's too much, you can decrease the curve by walking in the hands and the feet towards the center of the mat. If you want more intensity, just continue to walk the hands and feet over to the right side of the mat. We're going to hold this for just a minute on each side. So we're almost done here. A few more breaths. Releasing that left wrist if you had a hold of it. Begin to walk those hands back to center. Then the heels back to center. And let's take those arms down by our side for just a moment. Maybe making fists with the hands. Just bringing that blood flow back into our arms. One more breath. And on the next inhale, let's take those arms overhead. Walk the feet to the left side of the mat and the hands to the left side of the mat. Again, you can grab your right wrist with your left hand for more intensity, but you don't have to. If you have any numbness or tingling in the hands or the arms, just take them down by your side gently. Again, we'll only stay here for a minute. Using that 3-part breath, really breathing into that right side of the body. Feeling the tension, the lengthening. Noticing the difference between this side and the other side. Just a few more breaths here. On your next inhale, releasing the hand, if you had a hold of it, walking those hands back to center, walking those feet back to center, and then gently bringing those arms down by your side. On the next inhale, bringing the knees into the chest. Should feel really good. Rocking side to side. And then coming back to center. Release the knees, keeping the legs bent. And then take the arms out to a T. Drop those knees gently over to the right side of your mat. And then looking over the left shoulder, reclined twist. Very gentle twist, breathing into the left side of the body. We'll stay here for a minute. Options here are to take that right hand, just place it on the top of your left thigh, do a gentle pressure, and then releasing. If the knees don't quite touch or don't make it to the floor, you can use your blanket to support the knees. A lot of different options here. Again, remembering to breathe. On the next inhale, bringing those knees back to center. giving them a hug, taking them in a circle. And coming back to center, bringing the arms out to a T, gently dropping the knees over to the left side of the mat. Looking over the right shoulder. Again, taking that left hand, placing it on top of the right thigh, just a gentle pressure. Increasing the sensation. If that's not needed, no worries. If your knees are not touching or you don't want to go down to the mat, you can just take your blanket and adjust as needed. So it's really in yin, yes, we want to stress the tissues, but we also want to provide them support. It's a fine line. But by working in our connective tissues and our ligaments and fascia, we are increasing our mobility. So our mobility declines as we age, as our tissues actually begin to dry out. This helps to revitalize those tissues of the joints. And inhale, bringing those knees back to center. One last hug. From here in class, we normally go into Shavasana, which basically is you're taking your feet down to the mat and just finding a relaxing pose. Letting the earth support your whole body. Softening the hips. Releasing the shoulders. Relaxing the jaw. And this is where I will leave you. When you are ready to come out of this, you will roll to one side in the fetal position, staying there for a moment, and then rise up to your seated position, taking a nice inhale with the hands over the head. Exhale, hands to heart center. And yes, your hair will be all messy. Namaste.